This is your number one hit music station, Hot 93.3.
Guy, how far now? What's up with this face today? Did anything happen at the office?
My brother, it seemed like this business thing is not my calling. We just had our fourth consecutive loss. At this point, all my investors are almost pulling out.
Calm down. We always don't know what to do. That's why a consultant like Hexavia exists. Hexavia, it's a business strategy and management consulting firm. They have network of management and business executive breakfast and strategy session. It's called Breakfast with Izu. He will be sharing with select CEOs, startups and executives disruptive hacks, models and strategy to business growth and structure.
Wow! Link me now.
To attend, just send interested to this number 0803-520-2891. Venue, Eco Hotel and Suite. This Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Limited slots available.
Omo, I feel refreshed. See you on Saturday.
Xavier is a business and management consultant firm with over 128 businesses restructured, 200 and more businesses started, 2 MBAs, a decade of experience. We can take your business to a whole new level.
The Business Show with Xavier. It's the Business Clinic on radio. Come, learn and solve problems around strategy and structure. Growing your business. Join Izu, Daisy and Essay every Thursday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Hot 93.3. It's Hot 93.3, 10 minutes gone past 9. It's a beautiful Thursday morning, the 15th of June. And you know what that means? That right about now, every single Thursday morning, we go into business and business talks. So welcome to the show. Good morning, Lagos. And good morning to you, Easy. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Take your business to a whole new level with what we discuss here. And we try to bring in things that are happening, you know, with the trends that might affect your business one way or the other. And we bring it here and dissect it. In fact, today we are looking at a very interesting topic that has to do with data-driven hacks for businesses, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to let Izu give us like a little bit of background to that topic for today.
Okay, so data-driven hack basically is just looking at the relationship between consumer behavior, like data, using data to track consumer behavior and seeing how that affects the transactions that happen in your business. Right? Human beings by nature are very predictable, if you think about it. So how does that predictability of how they acquire and behave have impact in your business? I think that's the most important part, just seeing how your business is driven by more strategic or intelligent decision making based on how people just behave every single day. I saw a report that says the average person unlocks his phone 150 times in a day. The number of times you pick up your phone and drop it very subconsciously. The average Nigerian spends 2 hours 22 minutes in the internet, on social media. So just knowing that data, how does that help you with anything? Right? I remember back in the days when the DSS was, like, security was, one, they wanted to know who's living in the house without going into the house. Maybe there's an intel that, there's maybe something scrupulous or there's something that they're not sure of. What they would do is just coming every morning to the front of your house, open your garbage truck, your garbage, the bin. And then that is actually a theory around that if you open someone's garbage bin, like for 1 week or 2 weeks straight, you can tell almost anything about what they do in the house. Right. So if someone's a drug addict,
let us protect our bin, please.
If someone's a drug addict, every morning if you open the bin and close it, you're probably going to say Rizla, a wrap of something, syringe. If the person there are sex hawkers in there, you're going to know. You're going to see condoms and all that. So just basic anything. You can tell whether they have kids.
Cheating.
That's consumer behavior. That's what data, just very informal data shows. You can tell if the person has kids inside because you're going to see diapers. You can see, like, so that's just gives you an example of just out of the box thinking using data. So that's what we're talking about today.
I feel like we just gave someone a tip.
Someone who is like, they're not sure if their boyfriend is married, is about to park in front of his house and go through his trash.
And all you just need to do is dress like you're the person coming
Loma star.
You're welcome.
Okay, you're welcome. Exactly. Thank you so much, SA, for that. You know, it's so important that we discuss this, and this topic is coming on the heels of what we are having right now. We know that we have a new administration, and there's just a lot happening every single day. We hear stories, and we're like, okay, what's next? On Monday, the 12th of June, our president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, signed the Data Protection Bill into law. And according to the Nigerian Data Protection Bureau, about 500,000 jobs are expected to be created through the training of data protection officers and licensing of data protection compliance organization to offer services to data controllers and processors. I'm just going to read this report from the Punch. It noted that the new act is one of the strategic ways of meeting the campaign promise of Tinubu to create 1 million jobs in digital economy sector. This was contained in a statement signed by the head of the Legal Enforcement Regulatory of the NDBP, that's Babatunde. Now, this is a game changer. The signing of this data protection bill, and you have already told us just how getting an informal data as to going through someone's trash can be really, really mind-blowing and expository to what you can find out. And here we are. The government is about to create like over 500,000 jobs, and not just for informal, but for the digital sector. How do we see this influencing our economy and job creation and all of this in the coming years in this administration?
I'm surprised we chose the least relevant bill because it's passed like 3 bills in the last 1 week. So
Okay.
I'm wondering where 500,000 jobs are coming from. And I think we just told numbers all over the place because I'm trying to see what that is. Why you need 500,000? Have 500,000 jobs from data protection. We're talking about data itself is an automation system itself.
Yeah.
Anything data is automation oriented. Sorry.
Yeah.
So why do you need 500,000 jobs if you're trying to automate anything? First of all, because we know automation is inversely proportional to job creation, right? So I feel like we're just very having unintelligent data, but I don't think we have 500,000 jobs, right? Dangote refinery, right, hasn't produced 500,000 jobs. It's not less of a data act that was produced. But you see, the good thing is there's a need for that act because there's so much abuse of people's information and data, right? Every time you swipe your card, I always wonder what happens with a lot of those informations that, especially with the new tech companies that are coming in doing fintech, there's too much data up and down. So every time somebody's kidnapped in Nigeria, chances are that someone gave away someone's bank account, right? They're not just randomly kidnapping people, right? So every time you go somewhere and they tell you fill the form, I mean, we all get bulk SMSs that we're wondering how they got your number.
Yeah.
Those are real issues. So shout out to the president for signing the bills that someone had already initiated, right? But it's not like because when everybody sounds like, oh, he's signing bills
came
like
up
that.
or something.
I don't know whether we're resigning some signed bills, but at the end of the day, it's still a good direction. Like I always say, the problem in Nigeria is not the laws, it's the enforcement. Right, and the regulators are not as smart as the practitioners. I always say that all the time, right? So hopefully you're going to get Gen Z's digital natives who understand data, understand big data, right? Who write Pythons and codes and can use that to drive it, not to have people who used to work in night posts now become the guys who are doing that. So I think that's fundamentally one. So, but in the end, it's a step in the right direction. We're hoping to see how that is being driven in terms of.
Okay, all right. We'll look forward to that. By the way, if you're just joining us, this is the Business Show brought to you by Xavier, and Izu here is a business expert. In fact, he has through his organization restructured over how many businesses now?
Over 140 businesses in the last 14 years. That's average of 10 in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see that, right? So, whatever he's dishing out his facts. But then if you have anything to comment on what we're discussing, please go on our WhatsApp portal and leave a message. 0818 00 89933. That is 0818 00 89933. We're just taking messages for now because we're talking about other stories. Speaking of other stories, one news that seemed to get some people were not surprised because they saw it coming, but then they're like, the English seems to be confusing, where the CBN is to float the Naira
at Investors Forex Window. Some people are like, what exactly does that news mean? So I'm just going to let you, who is the expert, give us what that means and the implication for businesses.
Okay, so there are two policies that run economy: fiscal policy and monetary policy. Fiscal policy is policy that has to do with government spending and taxation, which is not CBN's work. That's FRS and government executive work. Now, monetary policy is where this falls into. So monetary policy, the guys who sit on top of monetary policy is CBN. In the last few years, probably 2-3 dispensations, CBN's main work has been to basically manage our exchange rate, sometimes fix it for us. And we ran two exchange rates for a very long time, what you call the CBN rate and the black market rate. Right? So the malams on the streets who Aboki, what you call the Aboki FX guys. Well, Aboki FX is a brand online. That's not what I mean. I mean the Aboki guy on the road who's sitting next to a hotel or dragging you, is dragging you to exchange dollars, right? When you go to Yaba market and they drag you to exchange dollar, that's black market rate, right?
Okay.
So there are two universe, right? Black market universe and CBN universe. So the CBN rate is the rate that people who do business with government, right, or who do the kind of business where they can go to CBN to collect to like certain type of product that you import, fall into categories where CBN can raise money for you, right? So that's how it's been, right? Two rates, CBN rate and black market rate. CBN rate is way cheaper than black market rate. But the side effect is that just like everything in Nigeria, things are being abused. So there's so many data flying. There's so many data flying everywhere, and we know that one of the richest. There's a joke we always crack that the richest kids end up in CBN as colleagues and staff. So most of those BDC licenses, right? So what also used to happen was that the CBN sells dollars, right, at a particular rate to BDC guys, which now sells to other people.
That's
right?
the BDC is Bureau de
Change people, right?
Okay.
So normally that should be very transparent, but that is not as transparent as it should be, right? So this whole thing has created parallel universe. If you have connection, you collect CBN rates, which is by large margin different from your black market rate. So now with this policy, what it says now is that let's demand and supply.
Determine.
Right? Determine. Nobody's giving anybody two parallel, right? As a matter of fact, that argument is drawn to large things like, okay, when the refinery is being built, at what rates is incentives being given, you know, because they're just basically two rates. So now there are no two rates anymore. So what happens is that there is now demand and supply. So if there's a lot of dollars in the system, what happens is that the rate will naturally come down. If there's scarcity of dollar, it will go up. Now, what that does for CBN is reduces one more role of CBN. Right? There's too many rates that CBN control or try to monitor, like interest rates, deposit rates, exchange rates. So while a lot of pressure has been exchange rate because there's so much barakbo happening there, looks like the CBN, when you think of CBN, when anybody thinks of CBN on the street, what they think about is dollar. As if that's what the CBN is set up for to do. CBN has other work. Matter of fact, I think the main CBN work is to be ensuring from an end user perspective is that every time I send somebody money and the person does not get it, CBN's work is to make sure that the person gets it. That's the first work in terms of managing commercial banks, because you go and complain commercial bank, the person is rude to you at the bank because he knows that the CBN is not exactly going to enforce the way they should. It's consumer protection first. So I like that. Now, the thing about that now is that there's no more parallel universe, right, which is good. But once in a while, I would still expect that the CBN will still jump in, maybe just cushion if there's an excess scarcity of dollars, which should not be the case, but that would most likely happen until we stabilize it. So I see what's happening. Our monetary policies are being really cleaned up, right? When Tinubu in his first speech during the inauguration said he was going to do a house cleaning in the central bank, he's already started that. I mean, last week we saw Emefiele being. And
then yesterday we saw Bauer. But then that's
we don't want to get political, right? But yeah, there's a house cleaning going on. That's good, right?
Yeah.
For the economy, really good for the economy in the end. What it means now is that looks like for a lot of people, the dollars, I don't know what the current rate is now. So that's the thing. It's always going to be more it's going to be very transitional now.
Okay,
until we balance it
what
out.
does that mean for businesses, especially for investors? Since we can't predict the movement anymore.
Yes, so that's the thing. There'll be a lot of volatility in the beginning, and it will straighten up after a while.
Okay.
Right. So for now, there's a lot of uncertainty, but for the guy on the street, he might be able to buy dollars lesser because it's. I think what would happen would be an average between the black market rate
and the official rate.
and the black market rate and the CBN rate, but not an actual weighted average. So it's not the mean, median, and mode.
Okay.
We tilt closer towards the black market rate, which is still lesser.
Okay.
So that's good. What we'll be more concerned about is people who are doing heavy importations that used to get money from CBN.
Yeah.
Now they're not going to get money from CBN anymore. So what that means now is that expect certain capital goods that are being imported.
Yeah.
Right.
The prices will
to
go up.
Right. Prices will go up. Right. So that's good. I've always said that this dispensation will be capitalist driven. Right. And that's the right thing to do. I also like the president's systematic approach to fighting corruption.
Okay.
Right. He's not interested in closing shops or handcuffing everybody that is corrupt. I don't see that happening. Right. What I see happening is reducing the source of the corruption, right? Instead of you catching thieves up and down, why don't you just make your fence higher and put electric fence so people can't jump in? And I think that's a more strategic,
and sustainable way
to do it. So let's hope that that energy is sustained.
All right, that's basically the major crux of the matter when it comes to the business in right here. Izu, you have done justice to helping us understand what that means, especially for the common man on the street. And really, we are so glad that you did that. So now it's time for us to go to the CEOs and those that have businesses so we can help them make their business even better. Like we said earlier on, we are discussing a data-driven hack to businesses, and like Izu has explained, that has to do with customers and all of that. So when we come back, Essa is going to be taking us on most of the questions that needs to be answered in this particular topic that we are looking at. Meanwhile, you should stay right there and not move anywhere because this show is still continuing until the 10 o'clock hour. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Is close to 30 minutes to the top of the hour to make it 10 o'clock. And we're still here on the business show right here on Hot 93.3. My name is Daisy Atsuchuku. And of course, we always have our expert in the building, Izu, who is, of course, the CEO. I keep saying CEO.
Lead strategist.
But then he keeps correcting me. Is the lead strategist of Hexavia. How are you doing, Izu?
I'm doing well. Pretty well.
Pretty well. And, of course, we have Essay, who is in the building, always bringing the other side of our stories out.
Hey.
Looking all good. All right, so before we went on that short break, we told you that we're going to be discussing data-driven hacks for your business, and we've explained that data basically is you having some insight, especially when it comes to do with your customers and all of that. So I'm just going to hand over to Essay to help us understand what exactly that is.
Yeah, so I think like thinking about data in a very formal sense, I'm thinking about like where you get that kind of information from about your consumers. For like a small business, for example, that doesn't necessarily have access to Nielsen's consumer database, what's like a solid way to find like database information about your consumers, whether when you're in the beginning stage of starting your business, like how do you figure out those demographic informations when there's not necessarily like a formal database information like that in Nigeria?
So one is the good old having a mentor that's done the same thing as you, right? So just a sit down with a mentor, right? Somebody said that, talking about data again, a 1 hour conversation is, I can't remember, no, talking data, I have to be specific with it, but a 1 hour conversation is a 60-page book or something like that. I can't remember what it is, right? So just sitting down with someone who's done that business, especially people that have failed in that business, is one. And two is good old questionnaires. Just go to the market and share questionnaires and say, oh, for example, you want to start up a restaurant on this street in Lekki Phase 1. just giving out questionnaires to people and saying, oh, what do you like? What type of food would you want to have in the morning, afternoon, night? What's the average amount you spend on food? What do you do for a living? Right? And using that whole data to be able to get your information, I think that would also help. Funny enough, there's actually a lot of reports online. People are just not conversant with them. Like, for example, Augusto reports. There's a company called Augusto. They're one of the biggest warehouse of market-based research. So I think that those are like very basic stuff where you can get data. But I'm a huge fan of questionnaires. Just asking questions and sitting down with mentors. And then lastly, focus groups. Almost anything now has a WhatsApp group. So you want to set up a school, for example, right? So I'm sure there is a WhatsApp group for parents somewhere in Lekki Phase 1, right? Maybe PTA. Just drop your questionnaire there.
Okay. All
gives
right.
insights.
Interesting. So how can businesses leverage data-driven insights to improve decision-making processes?
How can businesses do it?
How can they leverage data-driven insights to improve their decision-making process?
Okay, so first thing first is that they've got to have a data strategy, what I like to call a data strategy. And data strategy would be your strategy for aligning your organizational goal with data. So there has to be a strategy first. So strategy for acquiring data, one, right? Strategy for analyzing data, and then the governance around data. And so let me just break that down in very lame terms, right? You say you want to have in your company, you say you want to be more data driven, for example, or we just want to make decisions, want to make decisions by data. Who will be in charge of that move you want to make? That's a part of a data strategy. Are you going to hire like a research person? A lot of companies don't have research person, and you'll be shocked at how it's so funny. Like a lot of companies don't have research. They have accountants, they have business developer, they have marketers everywhere, but they don't have research or data person. So the first thing will be, do you need a data person? If you ask me, those guys that are FICOs in school are the best guys to put in those places, right? So you hire an intern, maybe an intern who's read statistics or something, and put him on your team, right? And funny enough, I also think that personalities matter. There are people who by design are nosy people, right? I think nosy people are useful idiots in data management, right? If that word is allowed, but so I think that is the first thing, is your data governance policy. Then who also will be in charge of the data? What type of data would you be looking at? Is it formal? Is it informal? What, for example, I have just very informally in my team, I have a WhatsApp group for my team where I say, if you're just scrolling around the internet and you see any information that is crazy, right, just dump it on the WhatsApp group. Any information, like, so just me saying, oh, the average Nigerian checks his phone, blah, blah, blah. That information, they're going to dump it on that WhatsApp group, right? So you just keep scrambling it. On our Google Drive, we have a folder there called Data Bank. Once you get the data, just drop it there. Because you never can tell what that data would show you eventually. Just knowing that 98% of Nigerians don't have 500K in their account changes how the product you produce. If you have never noticed, like almost every FMCG now is doing sachet everything. There's nothing that doesn't have sachet. There's really, the only thing left is sachet beer. That would happen eventually, right?
Yeah, honestly, we have sachet everything.
We have sachet everything.
You know, I'm so glad that you answered the question of, I was going to ask really how feasible and how, what's the word now? Just employing someone to come and sit down and just be looking for data. I mean, if you are even doing something tasking and your boss sees you sitting down and you are not acting busy, you look very useless. Not to talk of employing someone to just come sit down. So I'm so glad that you give the alternative that, okay, you know what, you can create a platform where everyone can dump data.
So everybody's a data guy then.
Yeah. At the end of the day. Great. Okay. So some effective strategies. You've talked about collecting. So let's talk about analyzing.
Okay. So analyzing data in this case would be more technical.
Okay.
Right. What format would the data be in for you to be able to analyze? It's going to be spreadsheets, but then the problem with spreadsheet-based data, like Excel data, is that you can't step back and see everything. For me, my first degree is mathematics, so I'm big on data and statistics. I like to turn everything into sets, diagrams, and pictograms and graphs. In fact, graphs give you what is rising and what is falling.
Yeah.
So that's the analysis part. One of the things I've learned, because I do a lot of presentations, is that Nigerians are very visual.
Yeah.
Right? Nigerians are very visual, right? So just show them. Nigerians don't. That's why in the middle of Peter, everybody after point started to make a joke about how Peter Obi just likes to throw data. And I always say that the reason why he did that, but he did it so brilliantly well, because Nigerians don't understand data in the natural form until you compare it with something. Remember, data most of the time only has value when you compare stuff. So, for example, when you tell me, like, I'm going to give a good example. Okay, so when they say Nigerians have 504 billion, Nigerian GDP is $504 billion, and people are like, wow, we're the largest in Africa. I'm like, no, you don't get it. $504 billion is the largest in Africa, but it doesn't show you how big Nigeria is, how big or how productive Nigeria is. It actually shows how poor Nigeria is, because California, a state in America, is $2 trillion GDP. That means a state in America is 4 times bigger than Nigeria's productivity. Right, so you see how comparison just puts
which
in
is
context.
supposed to be one of the highest in Africa.
Yes. So when they say this amount of people pass through the airport in Nigeria, right? They're like, this is, and they say 1 million people pass the airport. I'm like, pause. Mumbai, right? A state in India has more people that pass through it by 10 times than the whole of Nigeria. That means there are more people in Mumbai passing through airports. And I didn't say New York. I said Mumbai. India is like the closest thing to, like, there are poor people in Mumbai, right? So that's how you know how poor Nigerians are. So when they say 504 billion GDP compared to maybe a South Africa that is maybe, or Egypt that is 300 or 400, and people are like, that is a large margin. No, that's not a large margin. Let me tell you that it's not a large margin. Let me show you what data shows you. The per capita income of Nigeria is 504 billion over 200 million, right? When you hit that, it hits about $1,500 or so. When you convert that to naira,
we are
no, but let me just show you. I'm just trying to show you that the average Nigerian, right, doesn't make up to 1.5 million naira a year.
And
how many people's rent is no more than 1.5 million? So the truth about what's fueling Nigeria is actually corruption, and people don't talk about it.
And we have just to deviate a little bit. We have a student loan where your parents are supposed to earn at least below 500,000 naira for you to be eligible to collect this loan.
500,000 a year. No, 500,000 a year. No, it's no. That actually made sense, right? That's 500,000 naira a year. It shows you that. It shows how poor Nigerians are. See, there are too many. If people play with data a lot, they will stop creating luxury products in Nigeria. You see, this whole thing on Instagram, everybody's selling Gucci bag, Prada bag. Matter of fact, first of all, 89% of Gucci and Prada and LV bag in Nigeria are fake. Because, like, so people
You are buying
like,
your
so
LV from Eba now.
So, yeah, matter of fact, like, people don't know how poor. Let me tell you how poor Nigerians are. The richest man in Nigeria compared to the richest man in America or richest man anywhere else. You know what the difference is? The richest man in America sells technology. The top 5 richest people in America sells technology. I'm not going to put LV guy because he's French. I'm talking about America, like real Americans, like Bill Gates, like Jeff Bezos, like.
Zuckerberg.
Do you know what the richest man in Nigeria sells? Sugar and spaghetti. That's how poor we are. Like, what makes the richest man rich is people's food. Like 98%. Look, Nigeria, anything you sell in Nigeria is competing with food. Like, Nigerians just eat. So you know what data shows you? If you're paying anybody 60K, and he comes to work every day and spend transport money, he's stealing your money. People don't just talk about it. Because if you jump bus and you calculate how much you spend on bus every day, morning and night, right? Going to work and we assume you don't eat. You are stealing money. People don't know how.
And this was before subsidy.
So, data shows you a lot. So whatever I tell people is, when you're selling stuff, always bear in mind that Nigerians are poor. Like, Nigeria has only 15,000 millionaires in dollars. 15,000 millionaires in a country that has 200 million people. I don't know if you know that China has over 1 million millionaires.
Wow.
1 million millionaires, right? And don't think it's China. South Africa has way more millionaires in dollars than Nigeria does. And South Africa is not the same population as Nigeria. So, and here's a good thing about data. Put things in percentage. Don't put things in numbers. Numbers don't make sense in data. So when you say, for example, if I tell you that 400,000 Nigerians don't have 500K in their account, it looks like it's a large number, 400,000. But if you put that in percentage, what I'm telling you is that less than 2% of Nigerians don't have 500K in their account. Like, so people have to be able to look at percentage. What percentage of the market are you trying to? So, especially people that are building tech products, everybody's saying, oh, we want to build. Nigerians, people don't understand how the actual was fueling. Like, is you assuming that majority of Nigerians live in Lagos? Majority of Nigerians live in the village.
Yeah.
Right? When I tell people that the biggest occupation in Nigeria is farming, people say how? But everybody in your village, if you call your grandmother now, she's probably in the farm or going to the farm. Like, majority of Nigerians are actually farmers. But let me tell you what data now shows. We now have food scarcity. How is majority of Nigerians farmers and we now have food scarcity? So it shows you how unproductive we are, that all those people going to farm from January to December don't farm enough
To feed the country.
to feed their village, the village that they live in, talk less of the country. Do you know how much Nigerians spend? When you go to like seafood restaurants, like this is the richest of the rich, where do you think they get those things from?
It, of course, is importation.
Imported, right.
Importation at the end of the day. You know what, Lagos, this is that time for you to join the conversation. 0818-242-6591. That is 0818-242-6591. You can call via that number. Or you can also call us on 0818-00-89933. That is 0818-0089933. Now, you can call in and comment on what we're discussing. If you have any question, you can call in and ask. And also, we are opening the doors and the floor for you to bring in your business challenges. We are speaking to entrepreneurs, people that have business, people that have something that they're doing that is profitable or that literally brings money in. If you're having any pain points in that area, we would love to hear from you, and we'll love to prefer solutions. You know, look at your business and your business model and all of that and see how we can prefer solutions to that. So we're taking messages on WhatsApp on 0818-00-89933. That is 0818-0089933, or you can call 0818-242-6591. At a point on the show, we're going to start taking those messages on WhatsApp if you don't call right here. Hello, good morning. Data, collecting and analyzing. Let's talk about some innovative ways to use this data that you've analyzed to optimize, you know, some efficiency, what they call it now, operational efficiency and cost effectiveness. So what are the innovative ways you can use what you have collected and analyzed?
Okay, so two things. One is assortment. In most businesses, whether physical or non-physical, like tangible or non-tangible, like idea, tech, and service businesses, we all keep inventory. So data analysis helps you manage your inventory, since you don't always have all the money to stock. Let me give an example. A supermarket will never have all the money to stock everything they need, but from data they should know what to stock or what not to stock. So for example, if a supermarket stocks up their shelves 3 times in a week, data will tell you that people drink more alcohol on weekends. So you'd probably make your shelf, you won't spend so much money buying alcohol on Monday, for example. Right. I'll give a very practical example of this. Every time I go to supermarket, I can tell an intelligent supermarket from an inner boy that just opened a supermarket, like an America that opened supermarket. And I'll give a good example. Where you put stuff like, pardon my very funny example, where you put stuff like condoms in a supermarket tells me how intelligent you are as in your assortment. Right. So you have to be able to ask, what does condom go with? So the guy that comes to buy condom, what else does he buy? Right? I would suggest that you probably put your condom close to your red wine. Right? Does that make sense? Right? Right. Yeah. Condom next to your red wine. That's intelligent data.
Most times we see these things where they keep Rizlas.
Yeah. Right. But that's intelligence. A lot of intelligent assortment. Right? Also, you want to look at beyond even retail stores, right? People that buy this, what do they buy next, right? A good example is like on Netflix movies, right? You see that you watch a Netflix movie, once it finishes, the next one that's coming, there isn't a lot of data analytics, right, to do that. And sometimes it's getting very intuitive these days, super intuitive. Like every time I see ad agencies, right, with the billboards and especially digital billboards that changes. I always say that these digital billboards can be more creative, right? So, for example, I want to see in the afternoon the type of things that you're going to put on your billboard in the afternoon should not be the same type of things you put in the morning. Right, because there are certain things that for example, every time I pass and I see a Glenfiddich billboard in the morning, I'm wondering who's buying Glenfiddich early in the morning.
Well, the point is they want to put it in your face so that anytime you think of alcohol, anyways. But of course,
but remember, you're sharing your space, right?
Yeah.
You could have put that later on, especially because even for the Glenfiddich company, right? Because businesses have to be able to advise their clients to say, look, more people watch this at this particular period, and more people watch this at this period. Another thing I've learned about data is ask where people are coming from before they come to your place. And once you know where people come from, and that's where data happens. Where the majority of the people, let me give a good example. If you sell small chops, right, on like you have your small chops, you fry small chops, every Sunday you'll be asking where do they come from, right? Majority of people, it's actually consumer behavior in Nigeria that families go to Christian families go to church, and on their way they eat out. I do that also, right? So what that should do to the guy who's selling small chops, maybe that they buy small chops, is to backward integrate to see whether he can move his small chop place closer to the main entrance of the church, right? For example, in my own business, I always say, where do people come from when they come to me to say I need a business plan? Chances are that they went to a microfinance bank to get a loan, and the bank says, let me see a business plan. So since I know that majority of them come from the banks, I would backward integrate to go on LinkedIn to start adding people who are account officers in banks to say, hey, by the way, I know you give loans. If you give loans, right, please, anybody that needs business plan, you can refer them to me.
Okay.
Right. So that type of intelligence, where do people come from before they come to you? If you sell caskets, I'm using very weird examples, where do people go to before they come to a casket store? Right, the mortuary. So why don't you guys share your casket flyer in a mug, right? Like, I don't know.
Have some tact, Izu. Oh my goodness. Somebody just died.
This morning examples? I can imagine a kid in the car asking, Mommy, what does this mean? Please let us take our the questions that we have on WhatsApp. We have a couple of them. So this person says, please help. Wow, okay. A client has been owing me for months. It's not like he doesn't have the money. And how I know, I was going to ask, how do you know he doesn't have the money? How I know
his trash.
Well, he says, I see his lifestyle, he or she. Please, when you're sending your messages, please do leave a name so we can address you by your name. So he says, or she says, I see his lifestyle on Instagram and on his WhatsApp status. He even just did a house working in his village. And
housewarming, I guess.
Oh, okay. His housewarming in his village, and his kids and wife are out on vacation. Interesting.
That's a data guy.
Is that a data guy? Is that a stalker?
This is a serious issue. Let's understand where this person is coming from. The person says, sadly, the person that referred him to me is quite close to me. He said that he will intervene, but no response. And I don't know whether to take legal actions for relationship's sake. So this person is obviously having a fix right now. So, how would you address this? But then, essay, it seems like you have a.
I do.
Yeah.
First of all, people lie on Instagram. Like,
oh, okay.
That's number one.
Okay.
No, so but honestly, yes, if you're seeing, it is very irritating to know that someone is owing you money and is flexing on the gram. Like that's bottom barrel behavior. Don't do that. But also, I think, that's you have to be prepared for conflicts. Like square up. Pull up. No, don't do that.
Okay.
I think you have to, at this point, you probably have to take
What?
more, I don't know, public measures.
Okay, so the legal action?
Yeah, legal actions. Can you sue? I mean, depending on the amount, it might not be worth it to sue if they're not owing you enough that getting the money back and paying the lawyer makes financial sense for you. But suing is one option. Second option is blasting them on social media. If you're going to flex on the gram, I will too.
Name and shame.
This person is on vacation, but they're owing me that much. Screenshots, the chats, everything. That's one way. But also, you have to consider your own business. Do you want to be then forever known as the business that if somebody is owing you money for any reason, that they're going to end up being shamed on social media. Do you want that kind of reputation for your brand?
Okay.
So I think it can be very you can choose to go the high road, but still tense road and sue, or you can do if they go low, I'll enter gutter and.
Okay. Is it, considering the relationship that this person is trying to preserve, what would you advise this person to do?
So first thing first is, does he really know the degree of your pain? Does he
owing?
Yes. Does he even know the degree of your pain? Right. So sometimes people do this and they don't, and it happens just very, especially very wealthy people, right? Because
They
whoever
don't
is doing
understand,
the housewarming in his village around this time should be very, very rich, right? So, and I've seen this a lot. Very rich people when they owe very poor people, right? There's a difference in the vibe. Right, I always remind myself that sometimes that I'm not even in any of the category, right? Not rich, not poor. But so let me example: somebody came to do something for you, right? And you're supposed to pay him 20K, and you actually forgot. You actually forget. What you don't know, for you that forgot the 20K, is that 20K might be his child's school fees. That's why I said, does he know the degree of the pain, right? Funny. Let me give a good example right now. If an Otedala is owing you 2 million naira. You know that he probably will not know that he's owing 2 million naira. He doesn't. He probably would. It's not a very.
It's not a very high money
for him
to mean
be telling you.
something.
So you need to be able to. Then 2 is the owing. How did it happen, right? And there's a reason why I'm having this conversation, because a lot of people do business as my friend I referred. So you don't do business the right way. Maybe an invoice was never sent. Right, a receipt was never sent when the money was paid. So there's a process. When somebody wants to do business with you, send him an invoice. When he pays you part payment, send him a receipt with a reminder. It's easy to click on reply to that email to say, oh, based on our invoice sent, you are owing me this. Then 3, I think that he should do the boss is missing. There's a negotiation strategy called the boss is missing. The boss is missing is if somebody is owing you money or you want to negotiate something, you front someone else. So let me give a good example. I'm a businessman. They owe me money too. When people owe me money, right, and I've asked you formally the first time, right? No, I ask you informally. Like, I have that type of relation with my clients. I'm like, okay, maybe I go to your office or I meet you. You're like, how far with that money? I'm like, oh, we'll send the end of the month. By the end of the month, I'm sending my colleague in charge to call you. I'm not going to call you. So that's the boss is missing. I am missing in that conversation.
Yeah.
Right? So your boss calls. Now, your colleague calls. Now, my colleagues have been trained to not come back to me without collecting that money. So even that, my colleague will tell you that, Oga, please, if you don't want me to lose my job, pay. Because this thing is my target. So it's easier. So let the guy now even be the one to call me and say, your guys should, sometimes they even come to you, and some people are actually like that. And they say, I don't like how your colleague is chasing me for my money. I would just laugh. I'll literally, if you send me that message, I'll say, LOL, he's just doing his work. You know how overzealous colleagues are. But you shall pay me my money. I mean, I did work for you, right? So I think that's also very, very important in itself. Use other people most of the time.
Okay.
Right? Then mediation is also a thing. Right? Get a lawyer to write to him.
Okay.
Get a lawyer to write to him. Oh, based on the blah, blah with my client. Right? If you need to do that.
Okay.
If it's truly a professional, I mean, and funny thing about this life is people that mind don't matter, people that matter don't mind. Right? So eventually your money will come out.
Yeah, eventually.
Right? And then lastly, I like to say sometimes, I don't know how he's owing you. Did you do project for him or did you borrow him money? Me, as a rule, right, there is a level of money I will not borrow somebody because I don't want to lose my relationship and my money.
Okay.
Most of the time, you end up losing both. If I'm going to borrow money, mentally, I'm sure that money, if I don't get it back, right, it will not hurt me that deeply.
All right, let's take this call. Hello. Oh, we lost that call. Please call back 0818-242-6591. 0818-242-6591. Are we giving out something today?
Yeah, when we were talking, we talked about
the 2 policies of the 2 macroeconomic policies of government. So, like, if you can name those 2, you get tickets to Breakfast with Izu this month.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we have Breakfast with Izu coming up. When is the next one coming
It's on
up?
the 24th of June.
24th of June. That's like next week?
Yes.
Next
week
next
after
week.
This one. The week after this one, yeah.
Okay, the week after.
24th
Oh,
of June.
amazing. So tell us about Breakfast with Izu.
It's a CEO session. Yeah.
The CEO session. Okay, so basically we've done this several times, and it has to do with CEOs in the room, coming up with strategies, talking about trends and market projections. And you want to have this discussion with the way the new administration is going with all of its policies. It's really, really important that you join this conversation. It's paid for. But we are giving out a free ticket today. All you just need to do is tell us what we've discussed so far. And what's that discussion again?
The two macroeconomic policies of a government. What is government's job?
Someone can easily Google search that, right?
Sure.
That's not fair. We shouldn't be doing this on air. People will just get it for free. And I think we're having issues with our phone lines. I don't know. But then you can send a message on 0818-242-6591. You can also call that number in case the other number is not going through. So we can take your call right here this morning. 0818-242-6591 and also 0818-0089933. So for those of us that can't participate and we want to really, really, come through, how do we reach you to?
Because you want to attend the Breakfast with Izu, or you just want us for restructuring, management consulting, business consulting, just say interested. So the number 080-3520-2891. I'll say that again. Just say interested to 080-3520-2891.
Okay, that's the number for you to participate. So I think today we've had quite an interesting and insightful conversation. It has been really, really great. We talked about the trends happening. We talked about data-driven hacks for businesses. And we couldn't really exhaust most of the discussions that we wanted to have. But are we going to have more of this discussion at the...
Yes, Breakfast with Izu. It's one of those things that every business person must be actually using data to drive your business. You might also what we're going to and where you're coming from. We talked about where you're going to and building partnership. When you're also where people are coming from, build partnership. After people buy, where do they go to as well? We're going to talk about that in the breakfast session and how to build partnership where they go to after they buy from you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lagos, for joining this conversation. We have to run. We don't have so much time. The person that sent in this message, please, if you're sending in a message to us next time, please leave your name so we can take your message addressing you. Thank you so much, Lagos. It has been quite an interesting conversation. Essay, thank you so much for coming through as you always do. Really nice.
Thank you for having me.
And Izu, thank you so much for coming through.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to do this again next week. Thursday, 9 a.m. is the time. So keep a date with us, keep tabs with us. And of course, right here on Hot 93.3, we'll be giving you great programming lined up for you with good music. So stay right here with us on this wet Thursday. It's the 15th of June. Try to have fun as we go into the weekend. Have a beautiful day. The news